Hello, I'm Raymond Goen. Nightline begins now. The top stories. Sabah, Sarawak, Kelantan, Terengganu and Kedah among states with highest level of hardcore poverty. And Kelantan River partially dries up as hot weather persists. Good morning. Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the unity government wants to completely eradicate hardcore poor in the country, which he described as disgraceful for a country that is rich in resources such as oil and gas. The Prime Minister said among the states that still recorded high level of hardcore poverty are Sabah, Sarawak, Kelantan, Terengganu and Kedah. The Prime Minister's commitment was delivered during a speech to thank the Sultan of Kedah, Al-Aminul Karim Sultan Salihuddin Sultan Badli Shah, for gracing the Malaysia MADANI Open House in Alor on Saturday. He explained that the goal is to ensure that no state is left out in terms of the government's aspirations so that the nation's wealth can be enjoyed equally by all.
Dan saya minta kerjasama seluruh jentera kerajaan persekutuan, jentera kerajaan negeri dan jentera mani perbandaran untuk membantu ke arah ini kerana adalah mengaitkan bagi negara yang punya keupayaan dengan khazanah besar, minyak dan gas, kelapa sawit dan pelbagai industri tidak boleh menyelesaikan soal basic kemiskinan tegak di negara kita.
Dato Sri Anwar said the government, through the recently presented MADANI budget, has also increased assistance for rice farmers, which is the highest recorded compared to the allocation in the previous year. He said the allocations announced in the budget showed that the country has the ability to ensure that all parties agree to manage the country's economy and bring investments and expenditures focused on the interests of the people.
Saya percaya Kedah mampu diangkat sebagai negara makmur, negara berjaya, negara cemerlang, negara madani. Andai kata kita dapat urus negara dengan baik, menolak amalan dan kebobrokan rasuah dan penyalahgunaan kuasa dan menggunakan seluruh kekuatan jentera untuk menjaga kebajikan rakyat dan keharmonian semua kaum.
Meanwhile, Dato Sri Anwar said Kedah is a state that is given focus by the federal government with more expenditure allocation amounting to 1.6 billion ringgit for this year compared to the previous year. He said the amount does not include several other measures such as aid for poor schools and clinics, as well as several water supply projects in several districts in Kedah.
Baru-baru ini bila saya ke negara China, ada cadangan untuk meningkatkan pelaburan di kuliah high-tech dan untuk pengetahuan rakyat, saya beri jaminan untuk berikan kerjasama penuh mempercepatkan proses itu, insyaAllah dengan kerjasama kerajaan negeri dan PPT berkenaan. Ini akan dapat memacu pertumbuhan yang lebih bermakna di negeri kita. Darul Aman.
The Prime Minister also stressed that the government will continue to protect the fate of the people, including those in the states that are not together in the unity government. Commenting on Saturday's open house celebration, Dato Sri Anwar said it was the first time a large-scale event was held with the people, attended not only by ministers but also by many ambassadors and high commissioners, most of whom were from outside of Putrajaya and Kuala Lumpur.
Majlis ini adalah untuk rakyat bersama dengan pimpinan menyatakan penghargaan kerajaan perpaduan kepada rakyat dan mengeratkan hubungan silaturahim di kalangan kita tanpa mengira kaum, parti atau agama. Inilah kekuatan yang ada dalam masyarakat Malaysia ini dan untuk kita maju terus meningkat sebagai negara madani yang boleh memangkin melalui beberapa program dan juga memacu pertumbuhan yang bermakna hanya dengan kesatuan yang ampuh.
The function was also attended by Deputy Prime Ministers Dato Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi and Dato Sri Fadilah Yusof, Kedah Menteri Besar Dato Sri Muhammad Sanusi Matnor, as well as other ministers. For the visitors, including many of those who came from outside of Kedah, The atmosphere of excitement was clear as tens of thousands of people flocked to take photos with and shake hands with the Prime Minister.
Sentuhlah sono. Nak jumpa semualah. Yang penting tu nak tengoklah Perdana Menteri kita lah.
Jumpa PM, tengok Sultan Kedah. Lepas tu main makan-makan, meneriakan suasana raya. Awal lah, pukul 9.30 macam tu.
The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah expressed his happiness and gratitude that 30 Malaysians who were previously stranded in conflict-torn Sudan have safely returned from Khartoum on Friday. In a Facebook post, Istana Negara said Al-Sultan Abdullah also praised the government, the operation team and Ambassador to Sudan, Muhammad Razdan Jamil, for their efforts in the successful mission to bring the Malaysians home. The King also expressed his appreciation to the leaders and governments of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates for their help. Al-Sultan Abdullah also thanked the people for praying for the safety of the stranded Malaysians. The Malaysians, comprising Wisma Putra officers, Petronas staff and students, arrived in Kuala Lumpur via a Saudi Arabian Airlines flight from Jeddah on Friday. On Thursday, Foreign Minister Dato Sri Zamri Abdul Kadir had said the mission to bring the Malaysians home would have been more challenging without the involvement of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong and Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim. Dato Sri Zamri said Al-Sultan Abdullah contacted the President of UAE for help in the operation to rescue the Malaysians from Sudan, and the Prime Minister contacted the leader of Sudan to obtain a safe route for the 1,233-kilometer land journey from Khartoum to Port Sudan. Meanwhile, in Sudan, warplanes on bombing raids drew heavy anti-aircraft fire over Khartoum on Saturday as fierce fighting between the nation's army and paramilitaries entered a third week, violating a renewed truce. It was understood that fighting between the forces of Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, who commands the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF, continued despite the announcement of a 72-hour ceasefire extension on Friday. The latest three-day ceasefire, which was agreed on Thursday after mediation led by the US, Saudi Arabia and African Union and the United Nations, is supposed to last until midnight Sunday. Burhan and Daglo have agreed to multiple truces since the war began, but none has effectively taken hold as the number of dead civilians continue to rise, thousands flee the country, and those without the means to escape face an increasing struggle to survive. According to the United Nations, at least 512 people have been killed and close to 4,200 wounded when violence erupted on April 15th, derailing an internationally backed transition toward democratic elections. Due to the unrelenting hot weather in Kelantan at the moment, Sungai Golok in Rantau Panjang is drying up to the point where sand can be seen on the surface of the river. It is also possible to cross the nearly dried up river on foot without the need for a boat, as there has been no rainfall since the end of Ramadan. Checks along the river that runs along the border with Thailand reveal that some parts have a depth of only 0.2 to 0.5 meters. This phenomenon usually occurs in June and July every year, but this time around it was observed happening earlier than usual, which is since the end of Ramadan.
Jalan kaki ni. Jalan kaki. Tengok orang naik ibu. Ada juga jalan kaki. Tak, sekarang ni kat lutut. Oh, panas weh. Panas. Ya. Tapi ramai air lah. Air memang tahu dah. Dalam 3 minggu dah boleh lah. 3 minggu. Air semua kering rumah. Kena mandi kat sungai belakang.
The distance separating the banks on the Thailand and Malaysian sides measure nearly 150 meters. As the river grows more shallow, it almost seems as there is no border which separates the two countries. In the meantime, authorities have been urged to monitor and control the border area in order to prevent smuggling activities and illegal migration.
Saya lihat sangat membimbangkanlah keadaan di sini kerana air makin cetek dan menyebabkan rakyat ataupun masyarakat sini boleh melintasi sungai ini dengan hanya berjalan kaki je. Dengan air yang ketinggian paras 0.3 meter iaitu paras lutut. Ini akan agak membimbangkanlah kerana boleh menyebabkan kemasukan pelbagai bahan-bahan yang terlarang pun mungkin kita perlu titik beratkanlah kepada pihak penguasaan.
Those over the age of 65, infants as well as children under 5 years old are among individuals most at risk in view of the hot spell that is currently hitting the country. According to the Health Ministry, the group at risk individuals also involves pregnant women and women who are breastfeeding, as well as those suffering from chronic diseases, including high blood pressure, diabetes, and respiratory diseases. In a social media post on Saturday, the ministry noted that several areas in the country have been hit by hot weather with high temperatures recently. It said the phenomenon can have an impact on a person's health when exposed to the condition continuously, such as heat stroke. It also noted that certain groups of people are more at risk than others due to factors such as age, occupation, and health status. As such, it advised the public to take preventive measures to reduce exposure to hot weather so as to minimize its impact on people's well-being. Through an infographic shared across the ministry's social media pages, it also stated that the high-risk groups include workers who are exposed to hot weather and high temperatures, such as farmers, laborers, and miners, as well as active individuals such as sportsmen. Mass shooting in Texas leaves at least 5 dead. News from the foreign front right after this short break. Nuclear war deterrent. Kim Yo-jong also said that the more the enemies are dead set on staging nuclear war exercises and the more nuclear assets they deploy in the vicinity of the Korean peninsula, the stronger the exercise of its right to self-defense will become. The US and South Korea vowed this week that Pyongyang would face a nuclear response and the end of the leadership there should it use its own nukes against the allies as the two countries' presidents met in Washington. In the U.S., at least 5 people, including an 8-year-old child, were killed in a shooting at a home in Cleveland, Texas. It was reported that the shooting took place on late Friday, and the police were still looking for the suspect. Officials from the San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office received a call about the incident at about 11:31 p.m. local time. When they reached the scene, several victims had been found shot. Authorities said the suspect was a Mexican man who was intoxicated, armed and on the run. Police did not disclose the identity of the victims or their possible relationship to the suspect, but said they were all from Honduras. Two foreign-flagged vessels have collided off Corregidor Island in the Philippines, leaving 1 person dead and 3 missing. According to the Philippine Coast Guard, one of the vessels, Sierra Leone-flagged MV Hong Hai 189, a dredger with 20 crew members, capsized as a result of the accident on Friday. It said 16 of the 20 crew members have been rescued, and the body of a crew member was found on Saturday. Currently, search and rescue operations for the missing crew were still ongoing. As for the other vessel, all of the 21 crew members aboard the Marshall Islands-flagged MT Petit Sur were safe. The MV Petit Sur made its last port call in Bataan province, while the MV Hong Hai's last port call was in Zambales province. Football, the Japanese J-League. Champions Yokohama F. Marinos came from a goal down to salvage a draw against Nagoya Grampus at home on Saturday. Ryoya Morishita put the visitors ahead in the 41st minute before captain Takuya Kida leveled the contest on 72 minutes. The draw meant Nagoya Grampus are on 19 points from 10 matches, and they are third in the league standings, 3 points behind leaders Vissel Kobe. Yokohama F. Marinos are fourth on 18 points, while Sanfrecce Hiroshima moved up to second on 20 points after beating Cerezo Osaka. Still on football, the Australian A-League. Wellington have booked their passage to an Isuzu UTE A-League finals encounter with Adelaide United by grinding out a 1-0 win over MacArthur FC. The Phoenix needed only to draw to secure a spot in the top 6 on the final day of the regular season, and an 11th-minute goal from Oscar Zawada got them home at a rain-soaked Campbelltown Stadium. Ufuk Talei's side will travel to face Adelaide next week in an elimination final after snapping a disastrous run of form following the coach's announcement that he would leave at the season's end. The Phoenix were winless in 5 games before Saturday's trip to face MacArthur, who were condemned to their first-ever wooden spoon with defeat. The result put MacArthur at their first-ever bottom-placed finish in their 3-year existence as an ALM franchise. After the break, 9 nabbed over misappropriation of diesel. Stay tuned. Two Taiwan nationals who were wanted in a shooting case in their country were detained at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA. Both suspects were believed to be members of a secret society as well as members of a scam syndicate in Taiwan. In a statement on Saturday, Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Akril Sani Abdullah Sani said both men were nabbed as soon as they arrived at KLIA on April 20th from Taiwan. He said the suspects were picked up following a warrant of arrest issued by Taiwanese authority, and their passports had also been cancelled by the Taiwanese government. The arrest was made under the Immigration Act. He also said the two were handed over to Taiwanese police representatives at KLIA on Friday to be brought back to the suspect's country of origin. In the meantime, Tan Sri Akril Sani said the police will continue to take security measures to ensure that Malaysia is not used as a transit or destination country for any party that violates the law. In Johor, a 4-year-old boy died at a hospital in Johor Bahru, believed to have been abused by his mother and stepfather. Iskandar Putri District Police Chief ACP Rahmat Arifin said the child was confirmed dead on arrival at the emergency ward of Sultana Amina Hospital at about 8:20 a.m. on Friday. In a statement, ACP Rahmat said the child had injuries to his head, behind both ears, on his abdomen and on both legs. Following that, a couple who are the boy's mother and stepfather, both in their 20s, were arrested at their home in Jalan Aman, Skudai. He said a stepfather, who is a security guard, had a previous record, while the woman, who is 2 months pregnant, also has a 6-month-old son. The police also seized a handphone and several tools believed to have been used to abuse the victim. The couple is on remand, with the man for 7 days until May 6, whereas the woman for 2 days until Sunday. Police have arrested 9 men and seized over 135 litres of diesel, valued at over 290,000 ringgit and believed to be misappropriated in a raid at the Bukit Kayu Hitam industrial area on Friday. Secretary General of the Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Ministry, KPDN, Dato' Azman Muhammad Yusof, said those arrested in the 1 p.m. raid comprised of 3 Malaysians and 6 Thai nationals who are in their 20s and 50s. During the raid, all suspects were found filling up on subsidized diesel at the premises. All suspects have been remanded for further investigation. Also seized in the raid were 7 lorries, with 6 of them bearing Thai registration number plates, cash over 25,000 ringgit, and equipment to smuggle the diesel worth 1.05 million ringgit. Dato' Azman said the case had been handed over to the Kedah KPDN office for further action, and the case is being investigated under the Control of Supplies regulations. This has been Nightline. As we wrap up, let's take a look at this tourist attraction in China's Xi'an, which enables visitors to travel through the Tang Dynasty and experience a day in the life of the people from that era. With that, I'm Raymond Goh. Thank you for tuning in and have a good weekend.